What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, closet swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are feeling good. We got Albert in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to you, Amy, Andy, Ben, Bill, Brad. We got Brian. Good morning to you. Good morning to you, Daniel, Emily, Frank, Joe, Kevin, Lord, Lucian, Marius, Peter, Ray is in the house. Good morning to Russ. We got T Flow. Good morning to Tim. All my people out of YouTube land. Wade. Good morning to Wade. It's been a while, man. How have you been? All my lurkers in the background of YouTube, just not gonna say nothing all day. It's okay. I still love you. Hit that like and subscribe button. The market was gonna die yesterday. Crisis averted, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. We talked about a few levels. We did talk about a few levels where if you might want to get your protection, if you do think, which historically September has been one of the worst months of the year. We do have a lot happening with Jerome Powell, with the rates, with the tariffs, maybe canceled, maybe not canceled. We'll see. We got deals all over the place. We still got some earnings we got to get through. So we got a pretty stacked month, and historically, September is not a very strong month for the market. So yesterday, when we were opening somewhere in the range of 637.54, we did say we're opening pretty much at support. We got to hold it. We did that. We were talking about spots where you might want to consider buying some puts, buying some protection. And the two levels we really talked about were 643.06, which we are right there. I think we got there pre-market. And then the other one for that full-on retest is 644.65. So we said that is a very possible spot we could run into, and that would get you really good risk to reward. Where if we can get there, and I'm not saying that the spot we're at now, we're at open, you have definitely a much better spot. Yesterday was just yesterday's gap down, opening at support, retest gap. I don't know if the market is going to give us a 644.75. Where do we actually get to pre-market? Let's see. We got close. We got 643.74. Looks like the high from what I'm seeing. So we got kind of close, but somewhere in that range would be a decent spot. You'd be taking an L on the hedge, the protection, if we get candles that close above 648.78, and then at that point we're just making new higher highs. But you have decent risk reward. Uh, the other thing too is I know some people don't want to hedge sometimes because they don't want to lose money on the hedges. Like they just want to hedge and then make money. But if your hedge is intended to make money, then the actual play you're hedging against doesn't really make any sense. So be careful, be careful of that logic where if you have especially long-term positions, things like that, and you're bullish on swings and you're getting some protection, you should be losing money on that protection if the overall original theory is the one that's playing out. Otherwise, your hedge becomes your play and your play becomes your hedge, oddly enough. So keep in mind, I'm not saying go bearish. I'm not saying buy puts. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm simply saying we talked about this yesterday. We talked about some of these levels. If you are under the concept that this market might have a little bit of a rougher September, as day one indicated, maybe we might. We're starting to get those levels where you have the opportunity where you're not buying puts yesterday, you're buying puts today. If we get a little higher, tomorrow opens higher, maybe get another opportunity there. But just something to think about, just something to look at. For today's levels on the SPY, you got 643.06. Anything above that, I'm gonna hold on as tight as I possibly can to get to 644.65. We are opening pretty much into a resistance, so that's not a great open from yesterday. It is a retest gap as well. I'd be looking at maybe you see a little choppy chop out of the gate, and then I think you get that retest. The key spot that it would let me know that we're probably getting a much fuller retest of yesterday's candle if we start breaking down 642.21. So watch that. We have some support from back in August 12th. We've obviously been through it a few times, kind of easy to break down a little bit, but if we do break that down, there's really nothing else stopping us from essentially hitting what should now be a decent support, 639.24. So there you have it. There's your levels on the SPY. That's what I'm watching for. Qs. Qs, we got a little bit of a retest gap as well. Very interesting spot on the Qs. So unlike the SPY where we're hitting that Friday, where we're not hitting that Friday VPOC yet, Q's a little bit closer to it. So you got 570.11. So this would be roughly around the spot. If you're again, if you're bullish on the market, we buy every dip. Makes total sense to me. Um, then you're not going to need to hedge. But if you want to get some hedges out there, right around the open, probably as close as 5 to 570.11 as possible. That is your resistance. If you start breaking through it, the next spot you're looking for is about 571.88. But I'd almost not buy hedges or puts past this 570.11. I would just let it do its thing, and then if you do drop back down past 570.11, that's where I would take out those puts. But um, it is a retest gap for today. We are opening into resistance. I can be nothing but bearish. Well, I take that back. Very interesting spot. Where's okay? No, 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 never mind. All right, our high volume candle is August 20th. So that VPOC is all the way down at 563.59. So really, really good thing that we closed above it yesterday. Otherwise, the candle I thought, and it's got some decent volume on it, but this candle from August 19th, at least we're above this. Um, for today, if we're just chopping around, watch that level, 569.23. If we start breaking that down, it opens the doors to 567.20, and then if we are looking weak, we could see a full-on retest. But not a bad start for today. It's just that opening resistance that I'd have to be a little bit concerned about. Bitcoin, the biddy, just hanging out. A little bit of a high wave indecision candle. Again, we're still bouncing off that range. We'll see if we pull back one more time or not. For today, we have a long day ahead of us, but so far, yesterday's VPOC is 110.336. We've almost hit that. Didn't quite get there yet, but we're trying to stay back above that 100 after we've already come into a decent support spot for Bitcoin. So we'll see if we can start. I think we probably get one more pullback, but now I'm looking for maybe some kind of support around this 109.031 zone to hold and create a first higher low, and then we'll see if we get some higher highs and bang on out of here on Bitcoin. But if not, if we start breaking 108.529, then we see a little bit lower of a dip on Bitcoin. For right now, it's just kind of chilling, hanging out. PLTR. Let me get some of the lines off. This way we could actually see what's happening. There we go. That's a little cleaner. Palantir is also retest gap from yesterday. It's got room to the higher side. Um, I think your target on this one to a bullish direction probably takes you to about 160.23. 160.49 would be an interesting spot. Anything that closes above it, I'd be bullish longer term. Almost a little double bottom. We talked about like, man, Palantir was strong. We tried to short this one yesterday. I got out for a very small win, but they were holding up fairly good. They moved with the rest of the market. Then the rest of the market started pulling back. Palantir just stayed up there. So very, very strong move on Palantir. I think it has some strength for today. I think I wouldn't be buying it bullish right out of the gate, and maybe I miss a trade. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Otherwise, we start pulling back into this 157.86 and then primarily into like the 157.38 zone, somewhere around there. But I think the market, at least the strength in Palantir yesterday was there. So we'll see if we get that pullback first, get some better risk reward. Otherwise, to the higher side, 160.25 and then 160.49 would be some major, major resistance. Anything above that one, and Palantir just takes off again. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on that one. There's really no news today, no real catalyst for Palantir, but Palantir is just kind of moving with the overall market and did have some strength in it yesterday. I do think it is one to watch for today. The bigger catalyst of what's moving the market would be Google, and then I see Apple in the chat too. So Google and Apple, they had a deal which would have divested Chrome from Google. To me, the first time I heard it was I wasn't even paying attention to that story until like a couple weeks ago, and then I was like, that would be bad for Google. You got some small name companies trying to buy Chrome, and just didn't make any sense. But The ruling came in yesterday that Google does not have to divest Chrome, which is solid. The other thing too is Apple benefiting from the news, so Google's already jumping up. Is this all-time highs? I believe it is. Yep. So all-time highs on Google, massive, massive gap. Again, in a shaky market, I don't know. This is I got no levels higher, so good luck. Good luck to you. But we've obviously been buying this one up. I think it's probably a fade opportunity, but the fade might not come today. We might just stay flat, maybe go a little bit higher from here, just because this is the big news in the market. Everyone's watching Google. I'm not going to go long here. It's very, very difficult for me to go short, but I think short would be the best direction. I think eventually this gap fills, but be careful. I'm not about to take out puts today. I don't even care if it fully retests and I missed the downside. I think it's going to be tough to short. I don't have any targets but this is a big, big move already. The other one that does benefit is Apple. So Google was paying Apple apparently $20 billion a year to have Chrome as the main search engine on Safari or Apple products, I guess. So ultimately, that does keep Apple's revenue stream alive, which frees up a lot of capital for them to invest in their new products, such as a slightly bigger iPhone, I guess, or a screen that unfolds, whatever they're doing. Same thing with Apple. We are opening. So for day trade wise, let's talk about this one. Is we got some levels to play off of. Looking for like 238.56 should be a little bit of resistance. This is a nice little double top that we're breaking out of. Watch that resistance, 238.56. So we are slightly below that. Again, I think this one might be a little choppy, but I think Apple might be worth the short over the Google. We'll see. Google's obviously up a little bit more. Google or Apple next Tuesday, I think they have Apple Conference Day too. So you do have a catalyst right around the corner where they're supposedly, we'll see, but supposedly coming out with a lot of AI products. I don't know. If they're like really cool products, then that's your catalyst. Apple goes higher from here. If it's the same old stuff where they change a button location, then Apple's coming down. That's it. So just ahead of that conference, you might have some bulls. Just excited for it. That might elevate us or keep us up at some higher levels. Otherwise, it'd be this short. So just there is a little catalyst on Apple that could keep us up here. Otherwise, it's a decent. I think decent short. Google, Apple, both up on antitrust news. Yep. I see Hood on the list as well. Unfolding Dawn wants Bull. All right, I'll take a look at that one as well. Uh, Hood is chilling for now. We do have a little. I mean, I don't know if we're above. We're slightly below it. A little resistance. That's going to come all the way from July 23rd. Otherwise, short term, and there's a few days over here. So anywhere from 101.84 to essentially, to me, it looks like about 102.25. There is a little resistance up in that zone. This is also a retest gap from yesterday as well. If you could break through that resistance, your higher side targets would take you into about 103.50. So you get about just under $2 on that move. Otherwise, out of the gate, we'll see what happens. I think I like it to a little bit to the shorter side with that resistance in the way. We'll see, but that's $100.79. Also, Bitcoin not really moving. Kind of indecision high wave day, so you don't really have that catalyst. You're still inside yesterday's candle as well. I'd see if we get the pullback on this one. I think a short out of the gate makes most sense. Or at least that's the direction I'd be fading. Targets on that one, not huge. $100.79. And I think if this thing can get bought up and we start getting some bulls to rally on Hood, that would be your spot if you want to go long. So I think you got a little bit of time to plan out, wait to see what the market wants to do first on that. Let's see. MTG scored again on Google News. She bought Google on 8/28. The timing of her financial guys trades are amazing. Yeah, MTG. I know MGK. It's got some songs. MTG. Yeah, is that Marjorie Taylor Greene? Is that her? Uh-huh. It's good. It's good to see that the government officials are making some livable wages. It's nice to see that. I like it. You gotta keep them happy. You know. You got Adobe. Not much happening. Not a huge gap. It is gapping up about what is that, 15 cents or so. Um, Came into an okay retest spot, somewhere around 340, 349 would be the first one. I think I'd kind of want to see a little bit lower on this one. 339.38, maybe you run into like this 336.99 zone. Um, but we'll watch it for today. I still to me looks bearish. Doesn't look like we're really gapping having any crazy movements. That is a little bit of a breakdown candle. It was a retest. We already retested. I think if you're going to get momentum, it's probably to the down direction. Careful on that one. If you do take it bearish at open, you got 344.49 as your first little support. After that one, you got 340, 357, but we've been there. We could probably break that down and then maybe get close to this 340. So I think you still got bearish in there unless by the end of today this thing closes uh, probably above yesterday's candle, but really until we start closing above 355.79, I don't think we're really quite bullish on Adobe yet. Speaking of bullish, let's check out a bull for unfolding dawn. We got interesting move. So again, we closed essentially right at that 200 EMA. We talked about this level, which we didn't quite get to. Yeah, close. Yesterday was a retest gap. We did get into a little bit of that support. So we have a little support at $12.91. A little bit more, 12.77. That looks like the low of yesterday. And then we got where I would have liked to see this bounce off of, but bulls kind of came in ahead of time, somewhere around 12.62. So for right now, it's hanging on. It is also a retest gap too. Be careful of that. I do like the fact that you're getting above this candle from, or the VPOC from this candle from July 17th. So for today, watch 1360. See if we use that as a little bit of support. Where my concern would be day trading this wise in a bullish direction would be this 1388. So if we hit that, that would actually be a full retest from this disastrous Friday that we put in. So until we get, if we could start getting candles that close or pricing that close above 1388, that means the bulls, to me, are establishing a little bit of ground again, and that might set us up for that next move. So we're not too far away, about 20 cents into that next little resistance, which is actually the full retest. Um, so yeah, I think no man's land for today on a day trade, but in a longer term sense, if you're holding, swing trading, anything like that, watch for that 1385 zone or 1388. See if we get any closing price above it. Lucian says it's nice to see a mixed bag of bullish and bearish stocks pre-market. Yep. Different. Different than the last few months where everything is just bullish all the time. And SPY is bouncing mainly because of the major moves in Google and Apple. And all the other names are kind of weaker still. So just be careful. So we don't really have a we have the indices kind of lying to us a little bit. We got Tesla. This one is actually not horrible. I think this one could be sneaky. Now, high volume day. So keep anything for a potential bullish case. Keep everything above 332.98. So see if we get a small pullback on this one. If we could hold that 332.98 zone. The next resistance is 338.30. I don't think it's a huge one, but it is there. And then I think your next target takes you to about 343.84. So actually, Tesla has a little bit of room to the higher side. The other stock that reported earnings, good earnings, and then I'll show you the sympathy play to it too, is Macy's. I don't know what Macy's short float is. I didn't check into that, but they did come in with some pretty killer earnings. So 117% above expectations on earnings per share. They came in with an extra 109 36.75 million to the higher side. You are taking out a really good volume spot. I don't know. I think this one probably fades today. If we go a little bit higher, you got like 1578 starts to be a kind of the next resistance. But you probably have some room back down to 1474 on this one. Again, it's just the story's not great, just really good earnings, and I think they up guidance as well. The sympathy play to this one, where I think can get a move, and at least pre-market was looking decent. We'll have to see where this one opens. But this one I know has a good high short float. And it's kind of moving off the Macy's news a little bit, so you have a little bit of gap here. Um, I think this would be your Macy's play is actually playing Kohl's. Again, retest gap. If Macy's comes down, maybe this pulls back. The closer you get to the $16, the better. But we are above all recent VPOCs. I do want to see that retest into 16. Other than that, it's got a high short float. If retail starts looking attractive again, even Dollar Tree will go to that one next. But this one's got some room. I think your next target on Kohl's, which could easily happen today if we get some kind of squeeze, $17.32. Bigger zone would be $18.26. So you got a lot of room on Kohl's if you get some kind of high wave candle, a little bit of pullback. I'm going to be watching that one for a potential short float. Emily says, whoa, 32.76% short float. Yep. Macy's has a 9.52, so that's good too. They have the catalyst. They're going to squeeze probably some of those bears out with that type of gap. So the fade might be tough, but I think the one that's kind of sitting here a little bit quiet, if retail becomes a little bit of a story on some of the earnings, that would be an interesting move. So I'm going to watch those ones very closely. There was one more I was about to go to. Oh, Dollar Tree, DLTR. Dollar Tree also reported earnings, so they beat by 84%. They beat by an extra 85 million. This one might be a price to perfection play, so earnings were good on this one. This might give you a little bit of a short opportunity. Opening into a little bit of support here. It is a gap and go from yesterday, but be careful in that gap and go. I think I'd be looking to play this one, even though we are squeezing a bunch of bears, bulls, I guess at this point. Um, I think you have targets into, I guess your first real resistance is about 104.44. That still gives you about $1.48 to the higher side. If you could break that, your next target is 106.39. You have a really good trade. So again, this is a gap and go from yesterday, but yesterday was more or less just inside of this selling candle. So I think you have more shorts, recent shorts at least, in this one. Earnings were good. I'd see if there's a little chop on Dollar Tree. I wouldn't mind trying to play a fade on DLTR for today as well. We're running out of tickers. You guys are quiet today. There is again, you guys did mention the high flyers, Apple and Google. The rest of the market a little bit quiet, a little suspiciously quiet. We'll see. Let me take some of these off. We'll go through AMD. Got a ton of lines on this one. All right. AMD also retest gap from yesterday, opening into a little bit of resistance. This one could be interesting if we could get above 162.92. So that would be the spot I'd be looking to buy if we get some candles above it. But again, victim to opening into resistance to the downside. If you want to try to short this one, you got about 160.30. So if we can't break higher, then I'd be waiting for that 160.30 on AMD to go long. If you don't want to go short, you got SoFi. SoFi is what's up, Carl? Uh, SoFi is a retest gap, still inside day yesterday. Let's see if we get a pullback. I'm not sure how much of a pullback on this one. First spot of support somewhere around 25.07, and then a full on retest would take us to like 24.95. So it gives you about 10 12 cent range to look to establish a position. Otherwise, right here, I think coin toss your next resistance 25.51. If it can get past that, you can see a nice little move on this one. We had was it Bassett speaking today? Kind of just reiterating, like, yeah, most likely we're gonna get some rate cuts. So again, just confirming most likely rate cuts. That should help all of the IWM, the SoFis of the world. Anything kind of interest rate dependent or would do better, at least in lower interest environments. Not too much move, even from the overall market on those comments, just because I think a lot of that's priced in. So that's my biggest concern once we do cut rates. How do we pivot from there? What's the next topic now that we get some rate cuts in? We got hymns. That one actually looks very suspicious. We'll have to see when this one opens. It's already jumping around. Um, if we could open, which we're right at that resistance slash support now, we got 43.29. If we open northbound to that, you have a tiny little next resistance coming in, 43.45. And then if we could take that target out, I think you could probably see about a 44.61 potentially today. That's my probably extended targets. Other than that, if we open below that or we start breaking down, next little support, I think 42.76. Support after that, 42.34. If I am going to be a bull on hymns, even though there's a full-on retest, I don't really love if we get all the way back down to 41.63 because then the move to the northbound side of that is going to be difficult again. But cool out at like 42.34, and I think you get really good risk reward on this one. Maybe there's a slight little gap in there. Maybe very very tiny. I'm gonna say maybe abandoned baby situation. We got Sound SOUN. Again, another one that would probably benefit from lower interest rates. Not bad. Big resistance. I'm gonna move this one higher on my list. It's a retest gap, so be careful on buying at open. But if we could get candles that start closing above 1365, there's a lot of room on this one, which would take us into like $14.85 for a 1350 stock. That's good. So I don't know if I want to be a buyer here. A full-on retest of yesterday's VPOC is something I don't want to see happen either. That's $12.61. If I want to be bullish on the stock, I want to see us maybe pull back down to like $13.40. So essentially, we're rejecting that resistance once, we hold the support, and the next time we push through. So if we get that little bit of a pullback, it might be interesting to watch. See if we could hold 1342. If it can't hold that one, uh, again, I don't want to see that full retest of yesterday's VPOC. It's just too low. Um, but then I think you probably have support around 1282. I'm gonna push this one a bit higher. We'll see what happens on this one. Let's see what happens on sound. We got Roku, and not much time. Roku also opening right into a resistance. This is also a retest gap. Watch to see if we can sneak above 96.40. If we can, your next target 97.33. Otherwise, it's a retest gap. This one I wouldn't mind seeing a full retest 95.52. But everybody out there in YouTube land, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button if you have not done so already. That is the morning bell. Be safe.